Hi everyone, my name is Sarah Patak, and for this speech I'm going to be talking about education. As a persuasive question, I just want you to think about something before I begin. Is it fair that employers will only hire educated people for certain positions and certain salaries regardless of their field experience? In today's society, an education is extremely important. Some initiatives of good education are career advancement, higher pay, and personal empowerment. Now, personally, I've experienced what happens when you don't have the proper education. Imagine applying for a position and being in a room with a group of people who are all applying for that same position, the position that you really need, the position that you really want. And then you realize that you're the only person in that room without the education. Regardless of experience, you're the only person in the room without the education. That can be demoralizing. And I personally remember walking out of a room thinking how embarrassing it was to show up without the education that I needed for the position. Now that I've been going to school for a little over a year and a half, I realize how important education is. And though hard abilities and work experience are important, they don't always translate to having more knowledge about a certain subject. In my personal opinion, managerial and executive level positions should be reserved for people with a degree. Some examples of where this is already apparent is the medical and law fields. People who are in those fields have to have not only an education, but they have to have practical application and training, and they have to have licenses in order to obtain and practice their jobs. So why should it be any different for any private or government sector position? I personally have 11 years of experience in my field, and yet even I knew that that was only going to get me so far. And truly, learning has taught me to look at the world completely differently. Not only do I look at my job differently, but I look at the world differently, I analyze differently, and for someone having an education, I can see why it's so important in today's society, and especially in the economy. A lot of people are applying for positions. Jobs are harder to come by nowadays. So preparing yourself in every way possible, including in education, is extremely important. Now, also realizing how hard someone has to work in order to complete an education, I can agree that certain jobs must be employed by educated people. Even myself, going to school for a little over a year and a half, it has been tiresome. It's been a struggle trying to go to work, raise a family, and go to school. And I cannot imagine, you know, losing to someone for a position knowing that I have a degree and someone else doesn't. So the other question I want you to think about is, can companies really afford to risk hiring someone without an education? An education is not only proof of having knowledge for a certain position or a certain subject, but it also shows commitment and personal achievement. And those are attributes that are really hard to come by. But knowing that someone has a degree means that they stuck to something. And honestly, I mean, depending on the degree, even if it's an associate's, it's sticking to something for really quite a long while. So with such an enormous growth in all different industries nowadays, it's also important to teach kids coming out of school that some type of advanced learning, whether it be a trade school, a technical school, or an accredited university, is really needed in today's society. This also lends to assist people who are already working in their careers. Earlier I said that having experience is extremely important too, and it is. So having someone who can show the capability of knowing their position and now being educated is an extreme commodity that I think employers need. So in my opinion, higher salaries, particularly anything above $100,000, and all executive level positions within the private sector and government should be reserved for people with degrees. I really appreciate everyone listening to my speech, and I look forward to listening to everyone else's. Thank you.